Hi guys, this video is to help you with the discussion for Unit 4. So I would suggest that you grab a piece of paper right now and write down this page of notes with me, and then use that page of notes when you're doing your discussion for Unit 4. Whenever you do a discussion, make sure you answer all the problems on the discussion, all the different questions, and give as many details as you can. That's how you get the full points for the discussion. So in Unit 4, the discussion is about combining functions. So they'll give you a list of different functions. So I made these ones up. So f of x is a linear function. It just has an x. There's no extra exponent. It's just x to the first power here. So g of x is also linear. It just has an x. S of x is, we have x squared here. So that's a quadratic equation or quadratic function. So just notice those as you're looking at them. So in this discussion, they're going to ask you what happens when we combine these, when we multiply them together. So if I do f times g, so I have this linear function times this linear function. So if you think about what happens is we're going to end up multiplying these two things together. So it's going to look something like this, 2x plus 5 times negative 6x minus 1. And so we know how to do FOIL and multiply these two things together. And the only thing that matters on this equation is really what happens with the x here. So 2x times negative 6x would be negative 12x squared. 2x times negative 1 would be negative 2x. 5 times negative 6x is negative 30x. 5 times negative 1 is minus 5. And then I can combine these two terms in the middle. So negative 12x squared minus 32x minus 5. So that is what I end up with. So when I multiply these two linear functions together, I ended up with a quadratic. So that is what they're going to ask you about here in a minute. So let's look at this one. If I take g times s, so I have this linear times the quadratic. So I'm going to write that out. So negative 6x minus 1 times 3x squared plus 7x plus 1. So when I multiply this out again, the only thing that's going to matter for this question is what happens with this x in the front here. So negative 6x times 3x squared is negative 18x to the third now. And I can keep going. Negative 6x times 7x would be negative 42x squared. And negative 6x times 1 would be minus 6x. Negative 1 times 3x squared is negative 3x squared. Negative 1 times 7x is negative 7x. And negative 1 times 1 is minus 1. So when I simplify this, I can make it a little bit easier here. Negative 18x cubed, negative 42x and negative 3x squared would be negative 45x squared. Negative 6x and negative 7x is negative 13x. And then minus 1. So what's important here is that now we have this x cubed in the front. Okay, so what this question is going to ask you about is what clues would help you pick the right graph. So in this problem, they say, I can't remember the name, Bob is trying to figure out which graph goes along with f times g of x. So what clues would tell Bob what is the right graph to pick? Well, because it was linear times linear, now we have this x squared. So you should know what the graph of an x squared looks like. We should have some sort of parabola because now it's x squared. So the clues that you would look for would be the shape of the graph, which one has an x squared. So those are the types of clues that you're looking for f times g of x. And then they would ask you the same question for the g times s. What clues would help you pick the right graph? Well, the clues would be that now we have an x cubed, and so our graph's going to look like an x cubed graph. Something like this. Of course, it can be taller or skinnier, all of the different shapes, but it's going to have this cubed shape to it. This is what the graphs of x cubed looks like. So what clues would you look for? Those are the sorts of things that you're looking for. So give as many details as you can. You can use pictures or words or whatever you need to do to describe it. So that's how you do the discussion for Unit 4.